Auburn's Keldrick Faulk is very, very talented. His tape this year was an interesting evaluation. He has gotten quite heavy. He is listed around 288 on the Auburn website. I am not 100% certain where I see him fitting in the NFL, nor do I feel 100% confident that he is somebody I would pick in the top 10. Ryan, do you believe that Keldrick Faulk is a top 10 pick?
Joe, say one sentence with me. Okay, we're going to say it together here. We bet on traits on the edge. We bet on traits on the edge. We bet on traits on the edge. Keep saying it with me, Joe. We bet on traits on the edge. Come on, say it with me, Joe. We bet on traits on the edge.
I'm not saying with you. I'm not saying with you. I'm going to let you keep saying it.
My man is 6'6". My man is 280 plus pounds. My man is lengthy as hell. My guy moves incredibly well for his size. He did not have the 2025 season that he wanted. Auburn did not have the 2025 season that they wanted. They asked him to do too much. They did not prioritize support around him. I don't think that they prioritized development around him because the 2024 season, 11 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, incredibly disruptive football player. Like, he reminded me of, I thought he was Gregory Rousseau with a little more pop. Like, that's what I thought Keldrick Faulk was going into the year. I still think he's that, Joe. I still think he's that. I think that this was a lost season for him because of a lot that was going on around him, but he is a young cat with all the athletic gifts in the world. In this class, which, don't want to bury the lead here, but this class sucks, right? Like, it's not a good draft class at the top. It's not a good class at the top. It's not a good class at the top. So should Keldrick Faulk go in the top 10 in most drafts? Probably not. But if you're asking me, should he go in the top 10 in this draft? Yes, absolutely. I would bet on those traits all day because you're already betting on a bad class. Keldrick Faulk should be a top 10 pick. Yes.
Okay. I don't fully buy into the top 10 stuff. I think that he's going to be a first rounder. I think similar to how Greg Rousseau went mid-ish in the first round when he was picked. I agreed with you. We talked about this. Greg Rousseau, Keldrick Faulk.
He was actually,
I remember when I texted you.
I think he was in the late 20s, Greg Rousseau went. He was later in the first round,
He ended up falling a little bit, but we both really liked him as a prospect. But I recall in the summer I texted you, this reminds me of Greg Rousseau, and you said that that was the same comp that you had. We were on the same page with him. The difference is, though, is that Rousseau's 266, and I am so hung up on the fact that Keldrick Faulk's 288. I need to know what the verified weight is for him, but he looks 288 on film. I agree with you. The traits are 100% there, but he's got to pick a lane. He's got to figure out which direction he's going in. I agree. It was a lost year for him. The development and the jump for him wasn't there, and the sack production was not there as well. As much as I like traits, Ryan, I have a lot of pause with guys that can't produce in college. If you are traitsy and you can't finish,
you loved Shamar Stewart. You are
no,
talking
I didn't.
Both sides of your mouth.
No, that's not true. I had a second round grade on Shamar Stewart. I was not as high as the rest of the pack. You actually gave me a hard time in our rankings that he was outside of my top 5. I recall quite correctly.
I need to pull up the clip. I don't remember this. I need the clip. I need the clip on this.
No. You were misremembering.
Yeah.
I have issues with guys that don't finish, and he is somebody who can physically overpower blockers with his strength and with his length. I think that he has ridiculous bend for a guy that's at 288. He shouldn't be able to move the way that he can, but he doesn't finish. I think, and we're going to talk about a guy making a transition to another position in a second here.
Oh, no.
I think that this is a 3-4 defensive end. I think that he needs to pick a lane and he needs to add 12 pounds, get up to 300, be 290. Cam Hayward's 290. I think that if he turns into Cam Hayward, where he is just a monster taking up space, he'll be much more successful, I think, rushing from more of an interior role. Otherwise, he's got to get down to like 275. He can't be 288. It is holding back, I think, who he can be as a player. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Cam Hayward hasn't been 290 in 30 years, dude. Like, what are we talking about with the Cam Hayward comp? What are we doing with that? He's my man.
I'm not comparing him to Cam Hayward.
Easy.
I'm not comparing him to Cam Hayward.
My man is 310 easy. I'm sorry, I got hung up on the Cam Hayward thing for a second. I don't actually necessarily disagree with the point that you're making on this, though, Joe. I do think that he needs to pick a lane. I think the team needs to make him pick a lane. But you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the 2025 NFL draft where Nick Skouerton was dynamic as 265 pounds for Purdue, and then Texas A&M said, we're going to bulk you up to 280-something. And then you know what happened this year with Carolina? He's been very effective in the snaps that he has gotten this year as a 260-pound defensive end. I agree with you in the sense of you need to figure out what you want Keldrick Faulk to be. There's two lanes that you showed that I agree with. There is a world where he's a multi-versatile end that's playing at 290 plus, that he can do a little bit of everything, and I'm totally fine with that. Or he's a true 4-3 outside pass rusher, a guy that can play from wider alignments that's 275, maybe 280, depending on how his body kind of configures. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just, in the overarching conversation of this, in this class, where let's take a look at defensive end for a second, just comparatively here. Ruben Bain, I think the NFL is going to be lower on than what the media is just in general. Cassius Howell has less than 31-inch arms as well, just like Ruben Bain does. And there are question marks everywhere on this defensive end group. Like, I love, or I should say edge group, because they're not all defensive ends. I love R. Mason Thomas. R. Mason Thomas is not going to be probably a top 32 selection because of the lack of length and the lack of size he has. Keldrick Faulk in this class of edge rushers that are very compromised and everyone just seems to be missing something. I think that he is missing the least from a physical perspective. That's why I would still take the gamble on him on a less than ideal class.
What I'll agree with you on, and I think that the important takeaway with this is that he has more upside and there's more to get out of him because of the way that he's physically built and the tools that he has. You effectively could be creative with developing him and turning him into something that fits your defense and what you're trying to build. This is why this discussion of what he plays, I think, is more important than is he a top 10 pick. I do think that as you're talking about here, you could draft him and you could run a 4-3 alignment and you could see him as a defensive end, and you want to ultimately get him down to 275. I think a 275-pound Keldrick Faulk has a lot better control of his body and is going to play better. Or you could run a 3-4, and you could see this big, monstrous presence that is already 90% of the way there to being a 300-pound 3-4 defensive end, and he could be just a total monster that eventually becomes a sack producer from that position. I think that it's really hard to find guys that are sack producing. This is why I brought up Cam Hayward, because Cam Hayward's the most successful to me at that position, and he's versatile, and he doesn't just need to play that spot. But to have a sack producing guy that is technically an interior lineman in it to a degree, he's not an outside rusher, I think that is extremely dangerous. And it's why, again, we're going to talk about Ruben Bain in a second, why he projects in a different role and that'll be better for his NFL career. But if you're able, you can effectively, with Faulk, put him wherever you want to. And I think NFL teams are going to buy into that. I just personally, I don't love the fact that he has no sack production, and I think that he should be more of a 10 to the end of the first round type of a pick guy.
Well, I mean, he had sack production in 2024. He didn't have sack production in 2025. We agree on that, obviously. It was a season to forget for Keldrick Faulk. I think the key thing, though, here, Joe, is the fact that we're having this debate and that there's two sides to what position he should play on the next level is exactly why he isn't going to fall in this class. Like, that's why, right? Like, he's going to appeal to just about every team in this class defensively. 4-3 defensive end, 3-4 defensive end, whatever. He's going to be a guy that I think teams are going to value and those traits that are going to value. And plus, I mean, he's reportedly a great young man and has great character as well. So, like, all those things together is why I think Keldrick Faulk will go very, very high in this class regardless.